A couple of things then before I go into the side that I've got to take into consideration when I was putting the side together. One is that there's going to be double game weeks announced. There's a lot of games to still rearrange, fixtures to put into the calendar from previously in the season when they were called off. And also you've got cup matches going on, teams progressing, FA Cup will affect fixtures, all that sort of things. There's expected to be double blank game weeks as well will be fitted in there as well. And what we do know at this moment in time is that game week 25 will involve the League Cup final, so we have to take that into consideration. There's a few teams that may blank and we'll cover that in a minute. Firstly, I've gone straight into with Ederson. I want to weigh into that Manchester City defence, and he is about the only one that I know, if he's fit and available, he's going to play. I could have gone to the likes of Akanji, who I've got on my current side. Walker, Ake seems like a good option at the moment. In the past, possibly we've always looked at Diaz. I don't see him not being available. There's no one else really that's absolutely nailed on. Can't even run on Cancelo anymore. And I definitely want to play into that Man City defence. I just think I'm prepared to pay the 5.4. Get Ederson in. He's a set and forget for the rest of the season, regardless of the fixtures, and he does have a double coming up in game week 23, I think it is. So regardless of the fixtures, I just want a City defender in there. Alongside him, I'm going to go for Danny Ward, just in case anything happens to Ederson. I don't envisage playing him really at any point. 4.1 though, for an extra 0.2, I could save myself 0.2 if I was that desperate for the money, and then just not have a non-playing second keeper. I just feel like I like the safety net and security of knowing Danny Ward can play. Their defence looked quite good before the World Cup. Now, not so great. Fixtures, I'm just not bothered about really. Ederson is just a set and forget. I can't think of a scenario where I'm not going to play Ederson, if I'm honest. So those are my two keepers. Happy to have those in there. And then moving into defence, I think I've got to go Trippier. He's quite highly owned, but in terms of the defensive options out there, and his XGI is pretty good, 0.38. So we can see it. Trent is 0.33, but he's not getting a clean sheet. I've put Solly March down there. Now he's come into the reckoning a little bit. For 5 million, feels a little bit knee-jerk. He did score against Southampton the other day, a couple of goals, plus the clean sheet. So he's hoovering at the points. Is he someone that we perhaps don't want to miss the boat on if we haven't already? Brighton's defence looked pretty good. I haven't included him in this wildcard, but definitely one perhaps to keep an eye on. Reece James, when he's available, 0.41. But again, Trippier, given that he's got the decent goal involvement, 0.38, and they're keeping clean sheets, he's just an absolute no-brainer. Look at that, 12, 12 and 8. I feel like the defensive options are a bit weak at the moment. But we go across the line and look at who else to put in. So I've got Man City, I've got Newcastle and Trippier. If you want to save money, you definitely could go someone like Botman or Shah or Burn. Trippier just offers that goal threat for me as well, though. So talking about that, not much goal threat from White. And as we see compared to the other players, he just doesn't offer much going forward. But 4.7, he's a cheap way into that Arsenal defence, who have been really good and solid this season. So Ben White gets in 4.7. I think he's a decent shout in that defence. Nailed on as well, cheapest option. Then we got lots of Bueno. Now Bueno's not a player that I'm going to be playing at a great deal of. Next 2 weeks, happy to bench him at 3.9, but he's getting consistent minutes for Wolves. They're looking a little bit better as well. When it comes to Southampton, Bournemouth and Fulham, that real trio of games, yeah, 3.9, I think he could be a real steal. In the meantime, 3.9, happy to have him on the bench and just use him as an enabler. So Bueno, again, his figure's just not up there. He has picked up a goal involvement. I'm not expecting great things from him, and he won't play in the next 2 weeks anyway, because I just don't see that clean sheet potential being there at all. One player that's just it's been absolutely phenomenal since the World Cup is Luke Shaw. 5.1 he's gone up to now. Arsenal away, again, not someone I'll be keen to play on next week. But from then on in, 0.19, look at that, 9.15.2. I think they've kept something like 3 clean sheets out of 4. It's only Man City that have scored against them. Shaw looks like a mainstay in that defence now, whether it's centre-back or preferably at left-back. Strange enough, when he went to full-back, that's when he scored, kept the clean sheet, swept up the bonus points. Wouldn't expect that every week. But he looks a really good option for 5.1. Could save money elsewhere. If Dallow's back and fit, possibly. There is a choice as well we'll look at later on with the Malacio. But Shaw 5.1, I think he just looks like a really good option. And then making up that back 5, really difficult. This was probably the hardest position for me to fill. I had to really scramble around and think, who am I going to get? And in the end, I went for Brighton defender. He fitted the profile. He fitted the amount of money. Estupinian. Doesn't offer a lot going forward, but clean sheet potential, there looks like a decent amount. Leicester away, Bournemouth at home, definitely playing. Fulham at home, definitely playing. Palace away, I don't think I'll be too bothered about playing him in that. Brighton playing really well. Doesn't offer a lot going forward, but that would make up my 5. Not many premium players in. Can't rely on the likes of Cancelo playing every week. Trent not keeping clean sheets. Same occurs with Robbo. So with no Reece James in, Chelsea looking a little bit susceptible at the back as well. I want 1 City, 1 Arsenal, 1 Newcastle, and Luke Shaw. And the rest of it feels like I'm just picking bones, and I don't want to spend a lot. Estepinian, he's definitely one is up for his spot's up for grabs, but otherwise 4.5, he's in there for the short term. So move into my midfield section now, where we do end up spending a little bit more money. Across those 5 in midfield, I'm going Almiron straight away. It's a great season so far. Decent fixtures for Newcastle, 5.9. I think he's a really good price. I can't moan at that. I think he's looks so direct. He definitely passes the eye test whenever I see him. 8 points, 3 points and 2 points. Gets involved in cup games as well. He looks like a first man on the sheet at the moment in terms of Newcastle. What a turnaround it's been for him this season. So Almiron, he is a popular pick already, but I think he's got to come in. Not up there with the likes of Saka in terms of goal involvement, or Salah or De Bruyne, but then you're only paying 5.9 for that price. I think there's many better than him at the moment that I would really want to turn to. So that's Almiron. He makes up the second Newcastle player in this side already. And then alongside Almiron, I think I've got to still stick with Andreas. His goal involvement, again, pretty decent, 0.35. Remember, you're only paying 4.6. He's pretty much a great player to stick on your bench because you just know he's going to play. Mitros isn't there. He has some penalty potential as well. Keeps chipping in. 5 points, 1.4 points. So 2 involvements in the last 3 weeks. He looks great. He's been a really good enabler and a find to have in your side. Possibly just a bench option for Tottenham and Chelsea. But then Forest at home, definitely. Brighton, not sure. Wolves at home, I think, yeah, I'll be bringing him in as well. Again, when you look at his goal involvement, nowhere near the likes of Saka or Salah or De Bruyne, but then you're paying a third of the price in some cases with him. So 4.6, Fulham having a great season. Andreas makes it up that midfield. And all this money will save him with likes of Bueno, Estepinian, Boy, Almiron and Andreas can then start to be distributed elsewhere across the side. And we start to see some of those big hitters later on. Rashford at 7 million. I don't think I need to explain too much why. His goal involvement has just rocketed. He's just, 7 games on the trot he's scored in. Even away at Arsenal, I think I would be playing him. Then the rest of the fixtures look really good. So Rashford, he's got to get in. The problem, or the only sort of stumbling block with having this side at the moment is I've got 2 Man U, 2 Newcastle. If they both win in their League Cup semi-finals against Forest and Southampton, then they could possibly blank in game week 25 if they also progress, or one of them progresses in the FA Cup, which is likely. So then you may have a problem. But we do have 4 or 5 transfers in the meantime to try and shuffle your side, plus a bench. So if you're wildcarding now, your bench should be playing. So that could possibly get you away with it a little bit. Because I wouldn't want to be really free hitting in 25 just to avoid the fact that I've got Man U and Newcastle players. But that is something to be aware of. But we have got time to plan towards that as well. And I don't think I want to miss out on the likes of Trippier, Rashford, Shaw, Elmont in the meantime. It just feels like there's too many points to be missing out on if I start to not put them in now for game week 25. Then we got KDB. I think the one thing about KDB is in Manchester City, Ederson, De Bruyne and Haaland, about the only players I can absolutely guarantee are going to be in the side. So De Bruyne has to be in it, and I do want 3 City players. For 12.5 million, I'm happy to pay that. He comes in, he's nailed, picking up points, still got an assist this weekend as well. The other thing I'll say is about this, when the time of recording, the Chelsea game is just kicking off, so we won't know the Tottenham or the Chelsea results or some other of the games played. But unless there's injuries, I don't really see that taking a huge factor in some of the decisions I'm making when I'm putting this wild card side together. Martinelli will be the last one. I do want an Arsenal player in. I've got that double against Brentford and Man City. Otherwise, the fixtures look okay. But Arsenal just playing so well. 6.8, getting returns. He's been another revelation this season. Happy to have Martinelli. And then we move into the strikers range. Well, not many surprises when we look at who's going to be up front, I don't think. Haaland has just got to be, was he blanked in last 2? Was it last 3 he's blanked in? Or was it just last 2? He has to play. He's in there. Great fixtures for him. Alongside Haaland, I'm going to go... we have gone big hitting. I'm going for some of the bigger clubs again as well. But I do think Nketiah and Kane get the nod for me, because this side starts to get a little bit costly in terms of some of the players. So Nketiah 6.6, happy to have him. Jesus out still sort of for the medium term, so he's going to get more games. Don't see any problems with that at the moment. He saves money. You could go Wilson, you could go Mitrovic. The moment I'm just happy to go Nketiah. He seems, goal involvement looks great. Arsenal scoring goals, just being a striker playing up front, I think is enough at 6.6 for me to be interested in him. So he definitely comes in. So he makes my third Arsenal player. And then the final piece of the jigsaw up front, I have to go. The fixtures, you've got double game weeks coming up as well. I just have to go for Harry Kane. I think he looks brilliant. I wouldn't say he's fixture proof, but I'm happy to play him against anyone. We know what he did away at Man City last year. Just 0.89. He just keeps rolling off. He's got something like 19 goal involvements in 18 games. He is expensive, but I think he's worth the price. So that is the side that I'll put together. Let me know what you think about it. Anyone you think I've completely missed off and bonkers not to have in. Then next we'll just have a quick look at some of the other options available in its entirety, and it isn't the cheapest side in the world. Hopefully you'll have some players that you've got money invested in or wrapped up already. The squad value comes up at 101 million.3, which would just be in my remit. Hopefully it'll be in yours as well, but we do have some options if you need to save money elsewhere, or if you have extra money. For the likes of Haaland, you might have had him since the start of the season, therefore, even though your value of your squad's worth 101.3, actually you're not paying the 0.4 extra. So all these players included in this are basically if you're owning them for the first time, which I find is probably going to be very unlikely. You're going to have some of these and the investment already in them. Another play you could do, you could save money if you wanted another way into that Manchester United defence. Malacia looks like a decent option instead of Luke Shaw. 4.2, that would save you quite a lot of money in fairness, and it is tempting to go for. I think if Dalot was fit and ready, then possibly you could save a bit of money and go down that route as well. So Malacia or possibly Dalot. The other choices you could go instead, it saves you a tiny bit of money. Odegaard, Martinelli down to an Odegaard. Don't think there's anything wrong with that either. Other options are, if you had more money, you could potentially go for the likes of Nketiah and move up to a Tony. That would take a bit of a step up, but then you'd have to start thinking of juggling other things around. But if you went Malacios instead of Shaw, Tony instead of Nketiah, and the other choice I think is pretty obvious as well, is if you didn't want to go Tony, could go Mitrovic. I don't think there's anything wrong with his fixtures. The fact that him and Tony, very similar in terms of nailed on pens, I quite like either of those options, but this is the side and those are the options I can see. Let me know if you think there's anything blindingly obvious that I've missed.